Good evening and welcome to the Thursday, May the 10th, 2018 regular session of the Xenia City Council. We are ready to begin this evening, promptly on our schedule this night. We'll begin with an invocation by Mr. Brent McNelly from Gideon's International, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance led by Councilman Louderback. If you would rise with me, please, for the invocation and pledge.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Thank you for having me this evening. Appreciate it. Let's bow our heads. Father God, we come to you tonight in the name of Jesus Christ, Lord, our Lord and Savior, just to ask, Lord, number one, that you would bless these individuals, that you would give them wisdom, Lord, that you would be merciful to them, and that, Lord, that their mind would be stayed upon the business at hand. Lord, the business of running the city of Xenia. I thank you for each one of them, Lord. I pray, God, that there would be nothing that would come against them, Lord, that would separate them or cause them not to be able to do the duty that they've been elected to do. I thank you for each one of them, Lord. I ask you to bless them. I ask you to bless their families. I call upon you, O God, to be merciful and to be full of grace towards each one. Lord, we do thank you now for this time. We ask you, Lord, to bless them again. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much, Mr. McNelly and Councilman Louderback. May I have roll call, please?
Vice President Wallace, Councilman Scrivens,
Present.
Councilman Louderback,
Here.
Councilman Smith, Councilman Dean,
Here.
Mayor Mays,
Here.
President Engel.
Here.
I'd like to, go ahead. I was going to make a motion to excuse both our Vice President and Councilman Smith.
Thank you very much. A motion to excuse the Vice President and Councilman Smith by the Mayor and seconded by Councilman Scrivens. Any discussion or question on the motion, please? Seeing none, roll call.
Councilman Scrivens,
Aye.
Councilman Louderback,
Aye.
Councilman Dean,
Aye.
Mayor Mays,
Aye.
President Engel.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Thank you. This time I'd like to entertain a motion for approval of the April 26, 2018 special session, please.
So moved.
Moved by the Mayor. Second, please.
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Dean. Discussion, or excuse me, questions on the minutes, please. Roll call, please.
Councilman Scrivens,
Aye.
Councilman Louderback,
Abstain.
Councilman Dean,
Aye.
Mayor Mays,
Aye.
President Engel.
Aye.
Motion carried.
And a second motion, please, for the April 26, 2018 regular session.
So moved.
Moved by Councilman Scrivens. Second, please. I'll second. Discussion or question on this set of minutes, please. Seeing none, roll call.
Councilman Scrivens,
Aye.
Councilman Louderback,
Abstain.
Councilman Dean,
Aye.
Mayor Mays,
Aye.
President Engel.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Thank you. We have no special presentations scheduled for tonight, so we will move to audience comments. Anyone wishing to address the Xenia City Council this evening, please feel free to do so. Please step to the podium, provide us your name and address. Limit your comments 4 to 5 minutes, please.
John Kelp, 936 Orville Way. I attended the meeting a couple weeks ago where you discussed the short-term plans for the roads for this year. And then I attended the meeting this week and watched as you heard from the blue chip panel about the streets and the paving. I was a little disappointed both times, especially at the previous meeting. No one from council even spoke up and gave city staff any of your thoughts, ideas, concerns about how to move forward with this project. I mean, you're all elected officials, you work for the public, and I feel like you've pushed it off on a blue chip panel to give you direction so that you don't have to take direction. The other night we listened, and once again, very little dialogue from the council on a solution to the problem. It was said that we have a revenue problem, not an expenditure problem. I would disagree with that. Have any of you taken a hard look at the budget this year? I have. I went back and looked at previous budgets. I compared salaries from 2010, 2008 to 2018. And some of them have me scratching my head how we've gotten to the point where we are in 2018 with our salaries. I mean, honestly, I've just highlighted a few of them on 2 sheets here that just leave me boggled. I mean, our assistant city manager, I'm sure he does a great job, but at your point in your career, you made nowhere close to what he is making today. Same with our assistant finance director. Same with our law director. Same with many positions in the city. You look at police and fire haven't changed that much on entry. I mean, they're pretty similar to what they were 10 years ago when you talk entry-level policemen, entry-level firemen. Our sergeants, our lieutenants, our captains have grown tremendously when you look at their wages. When you add in the benefits, you know, we have 24.5% that we pay for every single fireman for their pension. And then we added their insurance. We are paying out $22 million in salary and benefits. $22 million. And we have $500,000 go to paving. That's a problem. And to say that we, you know, in the figure came up the other night, 70%. 70% was wages and benefits. Right off the city's website, I mean, it's 85%. I mean, there's the graph. 70% is less than 75. That's well over 3/4. So insurance is going to be coming up. Negotiations are going to be coming up for insurance this summer. We pay $450,000 in an opt-out program. We pay $60,000 to EMS services for their service to meet with employees. We paid $70,000 the first year. I guarantee you, year 2, 3, 4, EMS's workload meeting with those same individuals is not what it was in year 1. But yet we still pay them $60,000 to do that job. We pay over $450,000 now in the opt-out. Some employees receive $20,000, $19,999 to not take health insurance. The first year our claims were $545,000. This year we're projecting almost $1.8 million in claims on health insurance. So the claims have went back up. I mean, they were down that first year, but they've went back up. They were 1.7 the very next year after EMS took over. So at what point does council give staff direction, because staff works for council, appointed staff works for council. At what point do we say we are broke, we have no more money, we have to provide services to the city? Do we do wage freezes? Do we cut benefits? Do we actually look at the city manager and we say, look, every employee is going to pay 30% of premium for their health insurance. We have some at 15, a majority are at 15. We have some at 20, some at 30. Every employee should be paying 30% of benefits at minimum. We put $3,500 in their HSA. The national average for a large employer is $716. And we give them $3,500 towards their HSA. Add that up. Add up the opt-out. Some employees never took health insurance. But as soon as we started the opt-out program, guess what? We gave some employees $3,500 that never took health insurance. I mean, there are ways to cut significant money from the budget, but it's got to come from your biggest expense. And your biggest expense is wages and benefits. The city manager mentioned the other night a couple ideas and it was laughable for, $150,000 to add towards the roads. The only way I will support a tax levy, because I think we're shooting our foot with a tax levy, the only way I will support a tax levy is if council can make significant cuts and also contribute, say, $1 million towards roads. Because I think that's fair. If you're going to ask the taxpayers for more money out of their pocket, and it's not just $122 to some people. I mean, it's significantly more than that. But if you're going to ask the taxpayers for more money, then we need more money on this side going towards the roads also. It's give and take. That's the only way you're going to be able to sell it to the public. That's the only way I will support it. And if there's no cuts on the council end, if there's no cut on the budget end to throw more money towards that project, I will actively work against that levy because it's got to be give and take. Thank you very much.
Would anyone else care to come and address the Xenia City Council this evening, please? Seeing none, we'll move to old business. Only item under old business is Resolution 2018-L, second reading, authorizing the city manager to execute a use agreement with Devil Wind Brewing for the use of city property located adjacent to 130 South Detroit Street, originally introduced by Councilman Scrivens.
And with that, Mr. President, I'd move passage.
Thank you very much. Move for passage. Second, please.
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Dean. Discussion or question on this motion, please. Seeing none, roll call.
Councilman Scrivens?
Aye.
Councilman Lauterbach?
Aye.
Councilman Dean? Aye. Mayor Mays?
Aye.
President Engel?
Aye.
Motion carried.
We have no public hearings scheduled this evening, so we will move on to new business. First item under new business is Ordinance 2018-14, an emergency, amending Ordinance 2018-13 to provide appropriations for current expenses and other expenditures for the City of Xenia, Ohio for the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2018, and declaring it to be an emergency. Mr. Finance Director.
Thank you, Council President. We're requesting tonight additional appropriations for a variety of purposes, the first being the Design Assistance Program. The city received 3 applications for that program, all of them very good applications for buildings that would be restored and hopefully repurposed in our downtown, 3 different buildings, and staff thought that it was prudent to go ahead and request an additional $6,700 for that purpose so that we can award all 3 of those applications that we believe are good and important applications. We're also requesting $972 for the Victim Assistance Program. There was an increase in the grants revenue that's available there, and so that $972 would be offset by that grant. Many of you are aware that the building that once housed a lot of our municipal court storage via a rental agreement, that has since been discontinued as we moved some of the other court operations over into the Justice Center. A part of that was scanning a lot of the documents, and they had a lot of documents in the basement of that building. And so an additional appropriation is being requested to do some more scanning. Believe it or not, the company who is doing the scanning is still holding a lot of other documents that still need to be scanned, and the court is going to pursue some grant funding to try to pay for the rest of that scanning next year. And then finally, audit fees. We're requesting an additional $7,000 for audit fees. Those audit fees came in higher than what were expected. We're actually paying a lot less to our IPA for audit fees than what we were before. So when the state took over our audit in the last several years, the state, when they have an increase in expenses, they don't ask you if they can increase your expenses. They just go ahead and do it. We paid almost $50,000 several of those years that the state was doing our audit. Now our audit cost, even with this $7,000 for the 16 audit, would be about $35,000. So we're still well under the cost of what we were paying the state when they were doing our audit, and so we're requesting an additional appropriation for that purpose.
Thank you very much. May I have a motion, please, as an emergency for these appropriations?
So So moved as an emergency.
Moved by the mayor as an emergency. Second, please. I'll second. Discussion or question on this motion, please.
I didn't see the amount for the municipal court scanning. That's not reflected on the front page?
So the amount that is being requested as far as an increase is $27,540, and that isn't general fund money. That's being paid for out of the court's 363 capital improvement fund. The total remaining, I think, is around $80,000 worth of scanning that still needs to be done to archive all of those documents. And again, the court is going to seek a grant to try to cover the rest of those costs.
Any other discussion or question on the motion, please? Seeing none, roll call.
Councilman Scrivens?
Aye.
Councilman Lauterbach?
Aye.
Councilman Dean?
Aye.
Mayor Mays?
Aye.
President Ely?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Next item is ordinance 2018-15, an introduction, granting a 0.057 acre water line easement to the Denver S. Blair and Evelyn L. Blair Irrevocable Trust on the property located at 966 Towler Road. Mr. City Manager, please.
Thank you, sir. This evening, staff is recommending the introduction of the ordinance that would grant a water line easement on city-owned property to Denver and Evelyn Blair, property owners at 767 Towler Road. In February, city maintenance staff excavated a trench and installed passive venting along the bikeway that parallels Towler Road. This was initiated as an agreed-upon compliance step to fulfill requirements in the findings and orders that were issued by the Ohio EPA in May of 2017. However, prior to the trench excavation beginning, it was discovered that the existing water service that serves the property at 767 Towler would be in conflict with the excavation and therefore would need to be relocated. As a result, city maintenance crews installed a new water lateral that originates along Sheelan Road and traverses city-owned property there at 966 Towler Road before it reaches the property line at 767 Towler. Because it passes through city property, it is necessary and appropriate to grant an easement to the property owners. At 767, staff recommends the City Council this evening introduce ordinance 2018-15 as detailed in the agenda report, which upon approval would establish that easement.
Thank you very much. Would one of my colleagues care to make an introduction, please?
I'll introduce it.
Thank you. Introduced by Councilman Dean. City Manager and I discussed the next item, an administrative motion for purchase of a front-end loader, and have agreed that that item will be pulled this evening and will return at a later date with some additional background information for council. Next item is an administrative motion awarding the bid and authorizing the city manager to execute a contract with American Suncraft Company, for the West 2nd Street and Patton Street Water Towers painting project. Mr. City Manager.
Thank you, sir. Staff is recommending actions to move forward with a planned repainting of 2 water storage appurtenances, including the 1 million gallon West 2nd Street tower and the 3 million gallon Patton Street holding tank. It's recommended that City Council approve a motion to award these the base bid plus alternates 1 and 2 on West 2nd Street, which is one portion of the project, to award the base bid and alternate number 2 on the Patton Street portion of the same project to American Suncraft Company, and authorize a contract with the firm at a total not to exceed cost of $1,066,662. Competitive bids for the project were received on April 17th to paint the interior and exterior surfaces of both appurtenances, and the lowest and best bid was determined to be American Suncraft Company. Bidding documents also requested alternate bids to apply a thicker, heavier-duty paint for the interior as well as exterior of both tanks that would presumably last longer. After reviewing the base bids and the alternate bids for both tanks, the Public Service Department staff, in consultation with a contracted project manager, have determined it makes good sense at this point to apply the heavier-duty paint for both the interior and exterior for the 2nd Street tower, and for now only the exterior of the Patton Street tank. We are suggesting that the city not pursue the heavy-duty paint for the interior of the Patton Street tank until we can do a little bit more evaluation on the interior of the tank. So we're recommending the awarding of the bid and authorizing the contract this evening. There was a little bit of scuttle out there in the world of make-believe that is often Facebook. Don't read it much myself. I think it's fake news, but you know, this is a project at this price point that I wanted to be clear about the need. Okay, so we've got flashing on the screen here some images from the report that was done to assess both of these tanks. And it's worth noting that based on the best research we can find, the Second Street Tower has the original paint from its construction. The Patton Street, we think, is probably 20 to 30 years since it was last repainted. This is not an excessive activity. This is a needed maintenance activity. The painting is intended to ensure that the structural integrity of the metal is not compromised by putting a coat on it. As we progress to these pictures, you're going to see some interior shots of these water tanks. This is our drinking water. It is safe water to drink, but we need to make sure that we're taking the proper steps. That's the interior shot there. We need to make sure that we're taking proper steps to ensure the longevity of these assets. There's a couple photos coming up here. One of the other things that this process will do is we will independently be taking these towers offline. We'll drain them. We'll clean all the sedimentation out of it. Again, I want to stress that's a picture of the bottom of one of the large tanks. The water is clean. We actually have a very high standard and a very good reputation in terms of quality of our water. But over time, these things have to be maintained. So the suggestion that these types of expenditures are unnecessary is just totally based on no fact. It would be negligent of the council not to be taking periodic steps to ensure that our infrastructure is safe. And I can think of really few other ways that would be valuable in terms of protecting our community than making sure our drinking water is safe. So with that, we do make the recommendation for the award of the bid and the authorization of the contract.
Thank you very much. May I have a motion, please, to award the bid and authorize the city manager?
So moved.
Moved by Councilman Scrivens. Second, please.
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Latterback. Discussion or question on this motion, please? Councilman Scrivens.
Mr. City Manager, you had answered some of my question as to when we drain the tanks, are we using the water or are we discharging?
Yeah, I think they'll bring it down over a period of time, and so
Right.
that water gets used naturally.
Right, okay.
And then, after they've got the tank completely cleared out, they will have a process that they will go through completely to get rid of that sediment. They clean it. They do further inspection of the tank to make sure there's no deficiencies that weren't reviewed in the original assessment. They'll do an interior coating that is safe. It doesn't, it's safe for protecting that potable water. They'll do that process first, then they'll work on the outside. Again, we're protecting a metal tank to ensure
Right.
that the elements are not going to affect it. So yeah, the water will be used and it'll be done in a way that's safe. And of course, they'll have everything inspected then before they bring the tower back online and refill it with water.
And the center tower, as I had noted previously, was constructed back in 1887. I'd like to see some effort being made to see if we could get a plaque there or something that says it was built by the steel workers and possibly put on the National Register or something. Could we look into that?
We certainly can. I know former mayor, former councilman Pat Felton was one who always, acknowledged the historic significance of that one holding tank, and it is of that variety. I think it's the oldest in the country, I believe.
Second oldest.
Second oldest.
Right.
I stand corrected. So it's it's a point of pride that we've been able to maintain that infrastructure and keep it in service. And again, our intention is over the coming decade or so to go through and take the necessary rehabilitation steps with all of these tanks and our towers. This is critical infrastructure for our community. The water to our community is the lifeblood of our community. We want to make sure that those assets are protected.
Thank you, sir.
Any other discussion or question on the motion, please? Just for myself, I would agree with the city manager. I can think of no better way to protect the integrity of this community's drinking water than to take steps like this, and would look at the investment of $1 million over a 20 to 30 year period. $1 million is no small chunk of change, believe me, but to protect our water supply at 20 to 30 years, that is a very minor amount. And I couldn't even hazard a guess at what it would be to construct a new tower on that.
I want to be in the position.
Many, many times that. So I am
Mr.
completely in
President,
support of that.
Also, Mr. President, Mr. City Manager, make that North Patton Street Tower, just to be a clear designation.
Yeah. It's also worth noting, these dollars are enterprise dollars. They're water dollars. They can only be spent for water purposes.
Yep.
So you're not paving any streets with these dollars. It has to be put back into our water utility.
Thank you. Excellent point for the listening audience. Appreciate that. Any other discussion or question, please? Seeing none, roll call.
Councilman Scrivens?
Aye.
Councilman Lauterbach?
Aye.
Councilman Dean?
Aye.
Mayor Mays?
Aye.
President Engel?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Thank you. This time we have another administrative motion approving the city's budget priorities for 2019. Mr. City Manager.
Thank you, sir. City Council has conducted 2 work sessions discussing the budget priorities for the 2019 tax budget. Staff has incorporated the adjustments that you had directed. It's appropriate this evening in compliance with the charter to approve those budget priorities for 2019, and staff so recommends.
Thank you very much. May I have a motion, please, to approve our city budget priorities for 2019? I will make that motion. Second, please.
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Scrivens. Discussion or question on the budget priorities, please. Seeing none, roll call.
Councilman Scrivens?
Aye.
Councilman Lauterbach?
Aye.
Councilman Dean?
Aye.
Mayor Mays?
Aye.
President Engel?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Thank you. Another administrative motion is our next item, accepting the incorporated VOCA grant award and authorizing city staff to execute all documents necessary to accept said grant award.
Law Director.
Madam Law Director.
The Victim Assistance Program has need for a new printer. So what they did was they applied for a State Victim of Crimes Act Incorporated grant. It is a one-time grant. It's in addition to the funds we received. The grant is called VOCA that we received for 2018. The $972 was granted to buy a new printer and printing supplies for the year. We submitted for the use of volunteer hours through an internship program that we use in the Victim Witness Program. That was accepted as an in-kind match, so no city dollars are needed. It's a $972 grant, and we will use that to buy a new printer for the program.
Thank you very much. May I have a motion, please, to accept the VOCA grant?
So moved.
Moved by Councilman Lauterbach. Second, please.
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Dean. Discussion or question on the motion, please. Thank you very much for submitting for that grant. Excellent use of city time to advance the program. Roll call, please.
Councilman Scrivens?
Aye.
Councilman Lauterbach?
Aye.
Councilman Dean?
Aye.
Mayor Mays?
Aye.
President Engel?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Our final item under new business this evening is an administrative motion to approve the schedule of bills in the amount of $462,303.08. May I have a motion, please, to, oh, I should say, Mr. Finance Director, anything to add?
I do not have anything to add.
Thank you. Motion, please, to pay our bills this evening.
So moved.
Moved by the mayor, seconded by Councilman Scrivens.
Second.
Any discussion or question on the motion, please? Seeing none, roll call.
Councilman Scrivens?
Aye.
Councilman Lauterbach?
Aye.
Councilman Dean?
Aye.
Mayor Mays?
Aye.
President Engel?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Thank you. At this time, we have our time for reports of committees. First one is Miami Valley Regional Planning Commission. Councilman Lauterbach, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. We did not meet earlier this month.
Thank you. Anything for Councilman Lauterbach and MVRPC, please? Next item is Board of Zoning Appeals. April meeting was canceled. Anything to add, Mayor?
No, sir.
Thank you. Anything for the mayor and BZA? Next item is the Board for Recreation, Arts, and Cultural Activities. That meeting was on the 1st of May, and I have a report on that. We completed a number of programs up to this point in the year. Specifically, the Youth Recreational Basketball League concluded around the spring break time. They are currently investigating grants as their cheerleading program was quite successful this year, and looking to expand that, as well as the girls basketball program. I went to a number of those games and found that the kids all had a great time and demonstrated a significant amount of sportsmanship. So got some great exercise and learned some good life skills. The annual Easter egg hunt also took place. We had approximately, best guesstimate, about 1,200 people that participated. Many volunteers. Thank you to all who volunteered and donated baskets. This year was a record donation of baskets for the basket giveaway at the conclusion of the egg hunt. 156 baskets were donated and given away to the children of Xenia. Lots of smiles, I can tell you. Arbor Day event took place on April 27th, on Friday. That took place at Shawnee School. The tree committee would like to commend Shawnee School as they truly made this event into a whole school event with students conducting artwork, as well as receiving instructions on how to plant trees and take care of trees. And they planted a sugar maple on the school grounds to culminate that event. Many upcoming activities as well. First is Bloom with Xenia, which I'll hold up. Bloom with Xenia and Adopt a Spot runs from April through November of this year. Should you wish to participate in that, there are flyers available at City Hall, and probably a number of them in and around the community as well. Most spots at this point are taken, but there are a few left, and had a report also that our islands that are maintained as well by our Public Service Department are looking good. On the 27th of April, on that particular day, the volunteers and the city staff mulched 70 trees and wanted to send appreciation to Xenia Christian and Legacy for supporting that activity. The Fishing Derby is also coming up on the 2nd of June, shown here. That will be a time where kids can come to the Shawnee Park and fish for free, where there will be people taking measurements of the fish that are caught, and there will be various prizes and giveaways for the kids, as well as I believe a free hot dog and chips and that sort of thing during the event. So please come and enjoy. Next item is community gardens. There are still plots available. About 50% of those are sold, I'm told. The Public Service Building has the applications for community gardens if anyone would care to come and participate in that as well. And that is all I have at this point in time for BRCA, unless someone has a question. Thank you. We will move on to Traffic Commission, please. Councilman Dean.
Thank you, Mr. President. We met May 7th. We had one agenda item. A resident requested designating a handicap parking space in front of her home at 201 West 2nd Street. She's handicapped, and it's hard for her to park sometimes close nearby and get to her car. So the Traffic Commission voted to allow the engineering department to contact the surrounding residents and see if they had any objections to that handicap parking space being added. And if they did, then they would set up a panel to meet with them and see if those issues could be resolved to the best of their ability, to where we could also help out this resident.
Thank you very much. Anything for the Traffic Commission? Councilman Dean.
Mr. President, I had
Yes.
spoken to Councilman Dean during the week regarding blinking lights at certain intersections, and he assured me that the two that we had had under major discussion, that the proper way is to keep it as it is. There's one other intersection, that'd be Dayton Avenue at Allison. It's a three-way, and you're always stopping at that intersection, but never going. It would seem to me that Dayton Avenue should be blinking green, and Allison should be blinking red, because there's only one turn into that dollar store, and you have to sit there for an hour to come out, and that's not counting the school time. So now with school out, to facilitate movement up and down Dayton Avenue, I mean, it's kind of superfluous to keep everybody holed up at the pass there, and then they have to go another 100 feet and there's a stop sign.
Mm-hmm.
So I just ask you to take a look at that if you would, please, sir.
Yeah, I'll ask the engineering department about that, and then
All right.
also about the left turn down on is it this road right
And
right next door.
Yeah, and one other thing, Mr. President,
Yes.
the street that abuts this building here, Whiteman Street, I'm still very reticent about coming out and making a left turn onto East Main going west. We should probably take a look at making that one-way turning right coming out only. It's just a matter of time, and plus with the man taking out the flashing yellow light there, and everybody's going more than 25. And then finally, Mr. Dean, Councilman Dean, Stelton Road. Stelton Road, we need some 25-mile-an-hour signs on that road. People go up and down that road like it's the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. And not to mention there are children there. Mm-hmm. And not to mention, of course, they keep the trash cans out all week. Not the 24-hour take in, take out. It's just, we need to intervene on Stelton Road.
I will
Thank
ask,
you, Mr. President.
ask the engineering department about
Thank
that.
you, sir. Appreciate it.
No problem.
Thank you. Anything else for Traffic Commission and Councilman Dean, please? Final item under reports of committees is Planning and Zoning, normally Councilman Smith, but I will be reading his report into the record this evening. Planning and Zoning met in special session on May the 2nd, 2018, discussed the following. Case PZC 2018-03, which was a PUD final development plan for a 51-unit senior apartment building at Legacy Village, 809 Luther Drive, filed by Mason Malcolm of the Klingers Group on behalf of the property owners. This was approved as submitted. And case PZC 2018-04, a rezoning of 415 and 421 Bellbrook Avenue from I-2 Heavy Industrial District to B3 General Business District, filed by Greatland Investment Group LLC and CSO Property Management LLC, which was endorsed to City Council for approval. City Council public hearing is scheduled for the May 24th meeting. That concludes the report for Planning and Zoning. Any questions on the report, please? Seeing none, we'll move to appointed official reports and council comments. Mr. City Manager.
Thank you, sir. A couple updates this evening. First, one final reminder on Neighborhood Night Out, our first one of the season next Tuesday, Shawnee Elementary, 5 to 7 p.m. Encourage folks to be there. Prayers for no rain would be appreciated. This first one of the year always seems to get us. So, reminder that Hamvention is next weekend, not this coming weekend, but the following weekend. That would be the 18th, 19th, 20th of May. So be a little extra traffic on Friday, but we encourage folks to just be patient with that process. Our downtown walking tour, I discussed with council members about the staff there setting up a downtown walking tour, working to get that set up. We were actually hoping to do that the next week or two here, and the dates we were looking at, a couple of conflicts have arisen. So we are still working to get that set up, and we'll try to get that scheduled on your calendars here fairly quickly. Without wanting to be confrontational, I just did want to address the issue of the streets is a tough problem. And it's not the creation of anyone in this room. It's a problem that's been developing and getting worse for many, many years as our community has faced some ebbs and flows in its financial conditions and economic challenges, including the Great Recession here just a number of years ago. So it's culminated in a problem that's not just streets. We've got a lot of issues with our water and sewer systems underneath and curbing and sidewalks. Council's had a lot of discussion on this matter. We've spent a lot of time. Many of the staff members sitting right here have spent far more because we've been through that streets panel process. We've been through internal meetings. There's no easy solution to this issue. And but I want to encourage that, one, I think we have to be solution-oriented and remain positive about it. It's an investment in our community, and we need to be proud to find solutions to make an investment in our community to make it a great place to live. Second, I just want to caution that no one group should have to bear the burden of this challenge. I think the idea that that our employees should bear that burden is just frankly unfair. We have talked abundantly with council. As you look at how our employees are compensated compared to their peers throughout the region, throughout the state, we offer a fair wage, but we are not excessive. We are competitive, but we are nowhere near the top. We are a service organization by nature. Service organizations require people to do work, and people have to be paid. When it takes, whether it's 70 or 75% or 80% of our operating overhead to provide for labor, for services, it's because we are providing people to provide services, not because we have a bunch of superfluous other activities that we're funding. We're not wasting money on excessive materials and supplies and training and all of that. It's going into the people who are doing the people's work. And we're talking about firefighters and police officers. And at a time, as we've discussed with council, when the service demand for those services continues to rise, whether it's an opioid issue, an aging population, whatever it might be, those individuals continue to face some difficult working conditions, and they deserve a fair wage. This is a conservative community. It's a fiscally conservative community, and we should be accountable for every dollar we spend. I'm proud of the record that we've had, my predecessors, in working toward getting the best value we can, and I think we can make a pretty doggone good case that we have a very defensible budget and are very accountable in how we spend those dollars. So again, there are going to be a variety of opinions as to how you tackle this problem. No one, and I do believe, and I think no one wants to see a tax increase, but we have to be realistic about the resources that we have that we can bring to bear. We'll be coming back on the 24th with some action items to bring approximately $300,000 additional dollars to our street program this year, and we're working a couple of ideas that we hope will bring substantially more than that next year. But these steps are incremental steps. As we've talked about, this is a $30-some million problem. It didn't happen overnight, and it isn't going to be fixed overnight, and it's going to require some investment on behalf of the community to move forward. So again, I'm choosing to be positive about it, to be solution-oriented. We've got to find a way to deal with this. It is the problem that, you know, that this leadership group is challenged with, and we'll work the problem however you direct us to, but again, I just invite dialogue on that and make sure that we're getting facts out there about it. That's all I have this evening.
Thank you. Anything for our city manager, please? Mr. Finance Director.
Just to piggyback on what some of what the city manager had said, it is true, 85% of our key operating fund expenditures are personnel. So that's our general fund, police and fire fund, probation, street maintenance funds. When you look more broadly at some of the capital funds, at all of our governmental funds, it's a little closer to about 60% of our overall expenditures from a governmental fund standpoint are personnel related. I don't think that we're unique. In fact, I know that we're not unique here in the city of Xenia in comparison to other communities. I think that those percentages are pretty consistent throughout the region. We do take a hard look at the budget. It's not that we're not seeing these things. And we become frustrated sometimes with the process as well. When you look at things like the 24.5% or the 24% that we pay on pension for firefighters, that's state mandate. There's nothing that we can do about that. When you look at a lot of the other things that we're required to do from a collective bargaining standpoint, there's binding arbitration with a lot of these safety units. There's very little that we can do, especially when we go before an arbitrator and the union can show that they are not compensated at the same level as other people in our region. The health insurance benefits, very few communities throughout the region have anyone paying 30% of their health care coverage. And so we have some of our newer employees, and it's a growing percentage as the workforce turns over, more and more people will be paying that 30%. But very few other communities have anyone at that 30% level. And it's not as easy as just saying, hey, we're going to make everybody pay that 30%. Again, that would have to go to an arbitrator. And it's going to be very difficult to convince that arbitrator to say, yes, we're going to require a 30% contribution when the union can show that their wages are on par with other people in the region. So, you know, it is frustrating for everybody. It's not that we don't see these things. A lot of us, you know, back Senate Bill 5 was voted on and approved in the state legislature, and then there was a repeal of that, a referendum that was approved by the taxpayers. That would have given management and city council a little more latitude in what they could do with some of these wages. Now, the bill wasn't perfect, and I understand there were a lot of people who didn't like a lot of things about that bill. But a lot of us in management were supportive of those types of things, and we haven't been given those tools to make the difference in wages and benefits that is being suggested. So it's not that we're not aware of these things. It's that we're really limited in what we can do to impact those things. When it's said that it's not a revenue or it's not a revenue issue, it's an expenditure issue, You know, I would say the exact opposite. You know, our expenditures are in line with what other communities do, certainly from a wages and benefits standpoint, with what other people in the region are doing. However, when you look at the revenues compared to other people in the region, our revenues, what we receive in the city of Xenia compared to other people or other communities on a per household basis is far less than what other communities receive. A lot of other people in the region, in Greene County and Montgomery County, only the city of Dayton is going to receive less from their taxpayers than what the city of Xenia does on a per household basis. So it is a revenue issue. And it's something we're working to try to solve as we try to attract new jobs and good quality paying opportunities for people in our city, in our community. But it is a revenue issue, and the numbers show that, and they also show that from an expenditure standpoint, we certainly aren't outside of what other people are paying in the way of wages and benefits. So wanted to address that again, following up on some of what the city manager communicated on that front.
Thank you very much. Anything for our finance director, please?
Well, I think he is correct, and wages have lagged way behind profits for the last 10 years. So just want to make that point.
Thank you, gentlemen, both, for a very well thought out, articulate discussion of the reality of the situation. And I truly hope that everyone who's listening takes that to heart. What the city manager and finance director have said is absolutely true. We as the council have been briefed on that any number of occasions, and we have sat through these discussions with the bargaining units and such, and realized that there is little to be done where we would not put the city in a very disadvantageous position if we were to attempt to hold the line to such strict and in some cases draconian standards. So I thank you, gentlemen, for your articulate response to that, and would encourage, as the city manager has said, a positive approach and dialogue amongst people discussing facts as they exist. We can all disagree about the facts, but let us focus the discussion on the facts as they exist. Madam Law Director.
My colleagues, I think, said everything so well, I have nothing to add this evening.
Thank you very much. Anything for our Law Director this evening, please?
Still waiting for my copy of the incorporation.
We're still waiting for our chairs.
Moving to the mayor and council. Mayor, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. A couple items of things I was able to do these last couple of weeks. As you mentioned, on Arbor Day on April 26th, I believe that was, and I had the opportunity to spend the morning with the Shawnee Elementary third graders. We had a lot of fun planting a tree and saw the demonstration of how to properly plant the tree. And we talked about what a proclamation was, because as I started to read it, I realized third graders aren't overly clear on proclamation. So we got there. We talked about how we were making it official. And then on Saturday, the 28th, had the opportunity to attend the Xenia Community Schools Hall of Honor. And the inductees that evening, it was a lot of fun, and it was a very interesting evening. And I would congratulate those who were inducted that night. And let's see, May 3rd was the National Day of Prayer, so I was at the Green Memorial prayer breakfast and had the opportunity to pray for our emergency responders as well as our public officials. So I prayed for all of you and our fire and police and many others. And then that same day was the Green Giving Annual Luncheon, where they award a lot of their grant dollars, and again, a fun event because they were giving money away, so that was fun to be a part of. On May 4th, Friday, was our very first Friday for the night, for the summer, and fantastic response. After the rain cleared, a lot of people came out and had the opportunity to participate in the ribbon cutting for the Republican Party's new location, and they did an outstanding job. It looks really nice inside, and I congratulate you on that. And let's see, I think there was one other thing. Oh, this past Wednesday, I had the opportunity to meet with some folks from the United Way, and I've talked to our city manager a little bit about this, and just to refer to what we were saying of trying to improve some of the issues in our community as far as the poverty levels and some other things. And they have some really neat programs that they have started working in Montgomery County, and they would like to come to Greene County and specifically Xenia and see how they can work with us. It's called Collective Impact, and I'm excited to take that a little bit further and talk with them a little more and see if that's something that we as a city can help support and get on board with. I do want to mention that on the 28th, backing up to April 28th, there was a group of students that also did a serve day similar to Legacy Christian. There's a group of students that's called Unite, and they meet on the third Sunday of every month at the Xenia Community Center. It's for middle school and high school youth groups. Any church is welcome, and any of these students are welcome. And they put on an incredible program. I know we talk a lot about things for the youth to do, especially in the summer, and I would encourage any middle schooler or high schooler to go to that. It's the same place that the Cleft is held, which is also a free program for middle school and high school. They do different themes. They've done a prom night for fun. They do birthday parties just for fun. So they took all of these students out on April 28th and just served throughout the community. They worked at one of the nature preserves. They worked at Jeremiah Tree, Bridges of Hope, just did some cleaning. They do service projects, but they also try to provide a safe place for students. So if anyone has questions about that, I would be happy to give more information, but you can look them up, Unite, and attend that. And I think that is it. Oh, I do want to mention that the Mayor's Prayer Breakfast is Friday, May 25th. If you are interested in attending, it's through the Christian Men's Fellowship. It will be also at the Xenia Community Center at 7:30 a.m. A table is, I believe, $125, or individual tickets are $15. You can go to Green Giving's website, and on the donate page, just put in for the Mayor's Prayer Breakfast, and I would hope people will come.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Councilman Louderback, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd just like to piggyback on the mayor's United Way. They have a program, you dial 211.
Yes.
And they, in the real estate business, I know a lot of people that face foreclosures. And they will help you with foreclosures, but they will also, they've got a lot of other programs, like you said. It's in in Montgomery, Greene, and Dark counties, but they are really a great organization. So, but anyway, I wanted to ask you, Brent, I get these questions from citizens. Progress Drive, do you know when that'll be completed?
They're pretty close to being done. We had looked at doing some additional finish work on it, but I think at this point in time, yeah, they have to complete the striping, but that's the last phase of work, so probably the next couple of weeks, I think, Mr. Engineer, yeah.
Okay, so the way it is now is going to be the finished product.
That's our intention.
Okay.
I think it's worth noting, Councilman, we had some discussion. There's another technique that could be applied to apply an additional layer over top of that, of the repair work that's done, that would give it a uniform appearance. From a functionality standpoint, it doesn't really improve the wearing surface. It just makes it look better. The price point was $90,000, and we just decided that $90,000 could be better spent on the functional repairs in some other roadways. So it isn't, the best looking surface, but it's a phenomenal improvement. So functionally, it's
yes, yeah, I just didn't know if it was a finished product.
Yep. So
I know we got a grant for that, but the finished, the $90,000 would not be included in the grant.
Correct. That would be additional.
Okay. And also the hotel, have any idea when that's going to be completed?
It's been an ordeal. They had hoped for I think the first week of June to have an opening. I think they've pushed that now to the last week or so of June. They had originally planned to be, of course, open for Hamvention, and we're not able to meet that. And it's really, frankly, a variety of issues ranging from some availability of construction workers to some problems they had. Not necessarily following all of the plan process, and then there were some issues that had to deal with the building inspection. So long story short, we should be within the next month or so that they would be open.
Okay. And Councilman Scrivens introduced for lack of a better term, the nuisance papers. I talked to you about this, but I don't think the public understands. There's a process.
Yeah.
And this won't, the process, the vendors have been notified, but the police cannot do anything, and for what, 30 days?
For 30 days from the affirmative vote. And I do have a little bit of an update on that. we felt it would appropriate, to the extent we had contact information for the vendors that we were aware of. We've reached out, sent letters to those individuals, and one of the significant ones got right back in touch with me, happened to be in town, said, can I meet with you? So we made some availability to meet with him, the city planner and I did. He was very apologetic. He was concerned about it. We explained the concern that our residents have had, the concerns that all of you had, which prompted the appointed officials to take some action on this. So what I have worked out with him is that we're going to give them a little bit of a grace period. We've set some minimum expectations. You cannot throw these in the streets. You cannot throw them on the aprons. They have to be in the yards. But that we'll work with them a little bit to try to rectify the problem. We're also requiring them to make sure that they are printing legibly, clearly on the flyers that they can opt out of receiving that delivery and the contact number to do so. So we appreciate their cooperation in trying to make that better.
Okay, thank you. And one other item, I think graduation for Xenia High School is what, May 20th?
23rd. It's a Wednesday night, 23rd, yes.
So they will be graduating before we meet. I don't want to miss anybody, but any local graduate want to congratulate everybody. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman D.
This past week, I got the opportunity to go tour Fire Station 1 and then also go on a medic run. So that was both very informative and interesting, and I just want to thank the firefighters there for allowing me that opportunity and giving me the tour.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Councilman Scrivens.
Thank you, Mr. President. Since our last meeting, I did have a chance to meet with the Science Advisory Board with the Greene County Career Center. That was my first meeting, my plenary meeting. I'm still going up the learning curve, and I will make a personal appearance at the Greene County Career Center and get a more closer update on what they're doing. I'll get a hands-on look-see, and that'll better enable me to be of some useful value to them. Also, Mr. President, just like to thank the law director on her due diligence of getting a rewrite on the property offenses. And I'm an offender, and I have to get myself together too. And what's good for me is good for the community. And just want to say that saw some few negative comments about, well, why are we paving downtown? Nobody lives downtown. Well, the lifeblood of the city is our crossroads here, and we need to start at the heart and work out. I think we just have to be patient. If we had all the money that we needed, we still couldn't get it all done this year or next year or maybe the next year after that. So we need to be patient. We didn't get here yesterday or even day before yesterday. So every little bit helps. Every mile that we get paved is 1 mile that doesn't have a pothole. So we all share your consternation. And as the city manager said, I don't think we need to balance our inefficiencies in the past on the backs of our current employees. I think that's patently unfair. I want everybody to know that. These people serve us as we serve you. So they have to be paid. They have families and homes and children. So let's just be in the real world here. Things aren't the same as they were 10 years ago. Nothing is. Even the quality of the asphalt that we use to pave the streets is not the same. So let's all sit back and be patient and work together. And that way we'll get the job done quicker, and we'll all be in much better spirit to enjoy the quality of life that we enjoy here. I'd like to make one other comment, Mr. President, if I could. Still haven't seen any follow-up on that alley behind run parallel to Stelton Road. I got litter there that's out the wazoo, and I got 4 or 5 tires there by Cincinnati Avenue. It's going to be the rainy season here in a minute. Mosquitoes, mosquito-borne diseases. Enough said. This is the 3rd time I've said it, so that's it. And one final item, Mr. President. Has the city or the county got some type of cahoots going to get some summer youth employment here? We don't have a swimming pool anymore. I mean, we don't have too much to offer. So can we find some kind of work for our students here that's graduating from Legacy Academy on the 31st and from Xenia High on the 23rd? Can we do something?
In terms of summer employment,
Yes, sir.
yeah, we actually, as part of our budgeted resources, have a few summer positions. In fact, I'm pretty sure we have those filled at this point, with typically it's either outcoming seniors or local college students who have returned for the summer. We only employ a couple of positions. Not aware of what the county does. It's frankly harder and harder to find folks to fill a lot of those summertime positions. And again, to the extent that we have the resources available, we've got those positions filled at this point.
All right, sir. Well, that concludes my comments. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. I just have a couple items. As I'm sure everyone is aware of, this week was hydrant flushing in Xenia. And I almost feel like Pat Felton is here with us as I'm about to make these comments. As I had to make a trip back from Wright-Patterson midday for something, and the hydrant was seemed to be exploding out into the street and going around my cul-de-sac. Those various papers that we talked about were moving very rapidly towards the drains. I caught as many of them as I could. But even more notably, Pat Felton, here we are, grass clippings. On the two catch basins that are closest to my house, I probably pulled out 4 or 5 handfuls of grass clippings that have just migrated down that way and essentially at least halfway, if not 2/3 of the way, clogged up the drains. Folks, I'm just asking, and I'd be asking for Pat, please blow your clippings into the yard, or if you blow them out into the street, please sweep them up into the yard. Those going down into our sanitary sewer system cost money to clean out, and it shortens the life of it. It just does not take that much effort. One thing I might ask Mr. City Manager is, as I saw obviously city workers going around and doing that, might be a great time to put a rake or something in the back of their truck. And good time, they'll obviously go right past those catch basins. I'm sure that would add a little bit of time to their route schedule, but I would hope the citizens would do it. But if not, perhaps we can make that a regular trip around the city to take care of some of that as well.
One other note, if I may, in
Thank you.
addition to that, just had some conversation with the Public Service Director this past week, and we are making some modifications to our street sweeping schedule, where we were operating 3 to 4 days a week. We think for very, very limited additional cost, we can do that 4 to 5 days a week. So we're going to improve that by maybe 20% in terms of the coverage we can get on that. So,
super, thank you. And the last item I have is just a family affair for me. Wanted to wish my oldest son, Tim, a happy birthday. He turns 31 today, and I still just can't imagine that he's turning 31. Unless someone else has another item for us this evening, I would seek a motion to adjourn, please.
So moved.
Moved by Councilman Lauterbach, second, please.
Second.
Seconded by the mayor. Roll call, please.
Councilman Scrivens?
Aye.
Councilman Lauterbach?
Aye.
Councilman Dean?
Aye.
Mayor Mays?
Aye.
President Eby?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Thank you.